Ossified ligamentum flavum is one of the major causes for thoracic canal stenosis, first described by Polgar in 1920, and the first case of thoracic myelopathy was described by Yamaguchi in 1964. Highest incidence is reported in East Asian populations, Japanese, Koreans, and the Chinese. The prevalence varies from 3.8 to nearly 63%. A study by Mori et al. Has shown a prevalence of 36% in a Japanese population, the study sample being almost 3,000 patients. The commonest cause or etiology is due to mechanical and tensile stress. This explains why thoracic ossified ligamentum flavum is most commonly seen in the lower thoracic spine where the mobility is maximum and the tensile strength is maximum. The other causes are traumatic, metabolic, environmental in places where the fluoride concentration in water is significantly high. So I just did an internet search for the fluoride concentration in Gujarat, which is about 1.5 to 31 milligrams per liter. They have also described biological causes and genetic predisposition for TOLF. The etiopathogenesis is enchondral ossification of the yellow ligament due to the mechanical stress or the tensile force. The ossification starts in the superficial layers of the hypertrophied ligamentum flavum, both in the capsular area and the interlaminar area, initially in the cranial direction and then caudally. The elastic fibers are replaced by the collagen fibers, and the calcified areas are rich with cartilage matrices with osteons and osteoblasts. So the clinical presentation, like I told you, the commonest location of OLF is in the lower thoracic spine. The local symptoms could be constricting like discomfort at the level of pathology, back pain, stiffness of muscles, and systemic symptoms, that is below the pathologies, numbness of both lower limbs, myelopathy, gait disturbances, and if it occurs at D12 level, there could be a supraconus medullaris syndrome wherein you can expect muscle atrophy below the knee, foot drop, sensory loss below the knee all the way to the perineal region with preservation of bladder. And if there is occurrence of OLF at L1 or below, you can expect a conus medullaris like syndrome with bladder involvement. So the investigations that we do is CT and MRI of the dorsolumbar spine. Nerve conduction study is optional and preferred for mostly medico-legal purposes. Mori et al. Has classified based on CT into small, medium, large, extra large and central. The small, the ossification is less than 3 millimeters. In medium, ossification is more than 3 millimeters but less than 1/4 of the canal AP diameter. In large, it is more than 1/4 of the canal AP diameter, and extra large, it is more than half of the AP diameter, and a central or a mushroom type which is attached to the lamina. So various surgical procedures have been, there is no conservative line of treatment for this. The surgical procedures, dorsal laminotomy, dorsal laminectomy, open and MIS, dorsal laminoplasty, and of historical importance is bridge crane technique or lamina lifting suspension techniques, which are no more followed. So this is a table showing all the dorsal procedures performed for dorsal myelopathy. I will focus on the MIS. The advantage of MIS tubes is less tissue and bone resection, limited but adequate access to the pathology. The disadvantage is manipulating the tube. It's less maneuverable as compared to endoscope. Endoscope, again, it's the least invasive and easy maneuverability of the endoscope is possible with better visualization of the pathology. The disadvantage is steep learning curve. So complications, CSF leak about 18%, infections about 5%, worsening neurology is about 5%, and kyphotic deformity, especially in open cases. Now the MIS techniques for TOLF is minimal invasive tubular approaches, endoscopic uniportal, interlaminar, or an endoscopic biportal approach. There is enough and more evidence to show the safety and efficacy of MIS techniques, This is a publication by Dr. Arvind Kulkarni in February 26, where they have shown the safety and efficacy of microtubular decompression, which causes minimal disruption of soft tissues and the ligamentous complex, hence maintaining the biomechanics of the spine. They have very nicely shown the importance of docking, and in their paper they do suggest that the docking should be from the lower border of the superior pedicle to the upper border of the inferior pedicle, and also have illustrated how both ipsilateral and contralateral decompression can be done with a tubular system. Witt et al. Has shown the safety and efficacy of a full endoscopic technique, and they have illustrated the maneuverability, better visualization and good decompression using full endoscope. Dr. Sukumar Sura has recently published an article in Journal of Neurosurgery which got published 2 days back. They present a case of a 31-year-old with a dual pathology. The patient had a disc herniation at T8 and 9 and an ossified ligament at 10 and 11, both of which were safely and effectively operated using the endoscope. The last, Yang et al. Has shown that UBE is also effective in the management of single level TOLF. Now this is an interesting paper by Zhao et al. Who shows making 3D printed models helps us plan our trajectory, where we dock, how much of bone, and helps prevent excess bone removal and instability, and also educating the patient as to what the pathology and what to expect with the surgery. So this is the last a case which was operated in our center. It shows a D11 ossified yellow ligament. Patient presented with numbness and features of myelopathy. This was how we passed the tubular dilators, and we were able to dock at the base of your spinous process. This is the base of the spinous process where we docked. Just give me a minute. And as you can see, the drilling is started from the base of the spinous process, spinolaminar junction, and then proceeded laterally. And once the lamina is drilled, the ligamentum, ossified ligamentum flavum has a slightly yellow tinge, which is also drilled to almost an egg crackling consistency, and with the help of a dissector and 1 mm kerosene, the lamina is removed. The nuance what I would like to show is, while passing the 1 mm upcut on the contralateral side, we need to take the foot plate parallel to the lateral aspect of the thecal sac and then go underneath the ligamentum flavum and remove it. This will prevent injury to the direct compression of the cord and worsening post-op. The take-home message is MIS tubular and endoscopic excision of thoracic ossified ligamentum flavum is a safe and efficient treatment modality. It minimizes disruption of intraspinous, supraspinous ligaments, paraspinous muscle, less bone and facet removal, and hence prevents kyphosis and maintains spine stability. 3D printing models can help better planning and patient counseling prior to surgery. Thank you.